now have the pleasure of being joined by the digital media coordinator of the Detroit Lions, a man who has been to the Super Bowl not once, but twice, and has a lot of Radio Row experience. That is PJ Clark. PJ, how are you?
Doing good, Ethan. How are you? Thank you for having me on the airwaves of Z89 once again. It's
It is
always an honor and a pleasure when this happens.
it really is an honor to get you back here on Z89. Starting things off, you've had a couple of Super Bowl experiences. What were some of your biggest takeaways from, when you went as a student back in 2021 and then as an industry professional last year?
Yeah, so having the experience in 2021, as COVID-y as it was, actually really helped like last year, going back to Radio Row where there were like actual people and like things to do. Because I kind of knew how it went. I knew the um transactional economy of how to bargain with people's time and being around there. Obviously the experience in 2021 was not normal, but it was still incredible to be there, be around the stadium, be in the city that was hosting a Super Bowl. Obviously, it was the first time that a team ever played in its home stadium in a Super Bowl. So that was a big storyline, going into the week that was unique and not something that you get every year. Like not happening this year. It ironically happened the second consecutive year, but it was totally cool, man. And that's stuff that as much as we did most of our stuff on Zoom and there wasn't a lot to do in person for Radio Row, I thought the group we put together some good packages and a lot of content from on the ground in Tampa was great. And that's stuff that I sent out to people and tried to get a job off of and here we are. So yeah, I guess
Yeah,
it worked.
working in the NFL. What exactly is that like? What kind of experiences from, your trip and from your time at Newhouse have you taken to where you are now?
Yeah, I think getting a peek behind the curtain, I guess, of how like a large scale tent pole is what the league calls them, event of like the Super Bowl. That was cool, like to get kind of my feet under me. So the first couple of things that I had to do once I started working was kind of like normal, like the Super Bowl, the Combine, the Pro Bowl, like all that kind of stuff are variations of each other. So having already gone through one and gone through a credentialing process and what that looks like and how just large scale these events are made me just more comfortable when it came up again and again and again. Now 3 years in, having done, this is going to be my third combine in a couple of weeks. This is my second Pro Bowl. I've done two Super Bowls. Like that stuff, just knowing how the system works, and getting that out of the way and getting, just being at Radio Row, even though it was there was not a lot of people there in person, but getting the opportunity to do that is a really unique thing. I know there are some more colleges now that are starting to do it, and I think that's great. But just getting the opportunity to have that not only as a resume line coming out of college, which is pretty rare, but actually living it and now having to continue to live it, I feel like the experience was kind of invaluable.
You mentioned the Pro Bowl. That's where you are now in
Coming
calling
to
in
you
from
live
from
from a
sunny
hotel
Orlando.
party in downtown Disney. Yeah.
Have you gotten to go to Disney World yet?
I've not. I'm internally debating on whether I want to spend the money to go to Disney World for like a half day because the practices have been in the mornings now, and the game is tomorrow to break the fourth wall. We're doing this on Saturday, so the Pro Bowl will have already
Will have already
occurred.
been played. Yes.
So it's been good though. It's nice weather compared to, Michigan. I'm gaining like 60 degrees down here. I've gotten sunburned, which is never a good thing for me personally, but is it's nice. It's definitely it's cool. You see a lot of guys from other teams. It's really cool for the players. I was talking to Sam Laporta yesterday, and it's his first Pro Bowl, and just he was saying the interactions, like he had dinner with DK Metcalf, and that's the kind of stuff like seeing the guys interact with each other and getting content based on that is I feel like really the crux of what we're trying to do down here.
A particularly unique circumstance being at the Pro Bowl just 5 days after playing in the NFC Championship game, and I know I'm sure it's a sore subject for yourself and for the players. But compare that to last year, where you have this really competitive team at the end of the year, just miss out on the playoffs. How did last year's experience at the Pro Bowl compare to what you're experiencing now? 5 days off of a playoff loss.
Yeah, it's definitely a little different. The vibes have kind of shifted. I mean, everybody's down here, everybody's having fun. It's nice to get down here guys are more relaxed and we have five guys down here and two that dropped out due to injury. So it's nice to have that many guys recognized first and foremost. Like we only had, I think we had one original Pro Bowler last year and then three alternates. So to have the just amount of normal like first ballot Pro Bowlers this year is a testament to how well the team did and the development year over year. Um, I feel like the vibes around like the team is a little different, obviously, being in the Final Four versus being like the plucky upstart team of last year that just missed out. So it's kind of cool, guys are I give a lot of credit to our guys for still wanting to come down here 5 days later after being bruised and taking hits on Sunday and not getting back until 5 a.m. or whatever on Monday morning and still flew down here to make it for Thursday. So I give a lot of credit to our guys and it's hopefully it's been a nice weekend for everybody.
Joined here by PJ Clark on Z89, recording this on Saturday, February 3rd. So this is just before the Pro Bowl where PJ is down in Orlando. Going back to the content making process, back in 2021 when you're at the Chiefs Bucks Super Bowl, is there something that you remember, a piece of content maybe that you still think about or look back on today and you're like, oh, this is something I'm really proud of. This is an interview we did that, that has stuck with me for what is 3 years now and will continue to stick with me. Is there something that really sticks out, or is it more of the holistic experience?
I got a couple. So first off, all the press conferences were on Zoom, obviously that year. So, it's a little different than like what you're going to experience on Monday night, where you can just go up to podiums or players and whatnot and get guys. So the guys that would be at podiums had like a Zoom session for a half hour on probably, I think it was probably Monday still. So like Jared May being a Boston guy was trying to talk to Brady, like whatever. Like I planned out who I wanted to talk to.
And who was it? Who did you want to talk to?
I knew who I was taking shots on. So Mike Evans was one of my favorite players. Like growing up, was always one of my favorite players, and he was number one on my list for the Bucks. And uh, ironically, they were still live streaming like they will on Monday night to NFL Network. They were still doing like Super Bowl Media Day coverage, even though it was not really Super Bowl Media Day. And my question to Mike Evans got on NFL Network on national TV. So they said, oh, here's Peter Clark from Syracuse. And Mike Evans was very confused as to why somebody from Syracuse was he literally Syracuse. Like, isn't that a basketball school? And then like that was on national TV. And then I got to talk to Mike Evans. So that was pretty sweet. Don't love my question. Really would like
What was the question?
I asked like, and it's funny because even 3 years later now, this guy is still putting up 1,000 yards in every season he's played. So I think that year was the year he tied the record for most consecutive 1,000 yard seasons to start a career. And I was just like, you've done all these things, like you've gotten the Pro Bowls, you have this record now, this absolutely ridiculous record that you took from Jerry Rice, which is like any time you're mentioned in the same category as Jerry Rice, who owns every receiving record. That's crazy stuff. Like, what would winning a Super Bowl like mean to you? And do you think that'll give you, more recognition? Because to me, like a guy Mike Evans he's always in that kind of second tier. Nobody ever thinks he's one of the best 5, 3, whatever. But I mean, that guy puts up 1,010 every year, so you can't really fault it. And he gave a great answer, but just that kind of laughing at Syracuse moment, that being on TV was super cool. And then I put together a cool package on that year. The Bucks drafted Tristan Wirfs in the first round. He's back here now at the Pro Bowl, and Antoine Winfield in the second round. Those were their first two picks of that year, and those guys were unbelievable as rookies, still are. all pro players. Wirfs is down here at the Pro Bowl. Winfield was the first team all pro this year. I put together a package on just what those two rookies meant to a team that had Tom Brady but didn't win its division, got in as a wild card, had to grind to get to the Super Bowl, played all road games, won in Lambeau, and those two guys, two rookies being some of their best players that I was really proud of that. I really liked kind of taking that angle. I thought it was special just getting that rookie production out of your first two picks and ended up winning the Super Bowl in large part because of those two guys. Winfield, I'm pretty sure I had a pick in that game.
I
So
could double check.
that is you know, that guy's a special player, and he was coming out of Minnesota, and I'm glad I could highlight that. And then me just selfishly growing up a Jets fan, the Jets had cut Le'Veon Bell
Yes,
halfway through.
he did have an interception. He did.
Yeah. So there you go. I called it. And then the Jets cut Le'Veon Bell halfway through that season, and I got to talk to Le'Veon Bell in his Zoom press conference when he got picked up by the Chiefs. So that was just a really funny moment for me personally that I remember.
That's awesome. Were there any, fun stories you guys have of like a funny moment? I was talking to I think it was Jackson Agello the other day for when they were there in 2019. He said they tried to go up to Kevin Hart, and just like security guards, just you're like, nope, you're not talking to Kevin Hart. And then they also saw Guillermo walking around, and Jackson was
Oh,
talking about
dude, Guillermo.
How Guillermo is like legitimately trashed. Like it's not even a bit that he is. Were there any funny moments like that?
uh, I'm trying to think. We had a couple in-person interviews that was like very, very rare. Just because everybody was like obviously COVID, like the stanchions between like we couldn't even sit next to each other at Radio Row. It was like a surreal experience. It being at the Super Bowl, being at Radio Row, surreal. Doing it in the way we did it, double surreal. Because it was
Not
like
often you get a double surreal experience.
no, but here we are. So it was something I'll never forget. I'm trying to think what was like the weirdest. Um Oh, so Corey Spector. Everyone loves Corey Spector. This is my favorite one, actually. We're outside of I think it was a Bucks team hotel, which was like one of the Hilton in like downtown Tampa, whatever. And we're across the street. Corey's doing a stand up. He wanted to do a stand up about Kelsey and Gronk. It's hilarious that Kelsey is just like back in this game, and somebody else can go do that with Kelsey and Kittle now, like
Yep.
two very tight ends. Um, Time is a flat circle. But he wanted to do it like stand up on his package about the two tight ends, and we're there, and he's filming like we have the camera. He's filming a stand up. He's got like the Gronk poster in the background behind him on the side of the hotel, and somebody just walking by just heckles Corey because he's wearing like a blue seersucker suit, and just goes, "He looks like Howdy Doody," and then just like keeps walking. And I think me and Cooper laughed harder than anybody has ever laughed at literally anything at any point in time. Like we 3 years later, we'll just bring that up. We played the Bucks earlier this year, and we were downtown, and we passed that hotel, and I literally took a picture on that corner, being like, "Here was Howdy Doody." So that is a lasting memory that will go literally never leave my mind. Hopefully.
That's incredible. Wrapping things up, just one more fun one for you. Super Bowl, big talking points in Las Vegas. Las Vegas has never hosted the Super Bowl before. Do you have any how many times or have you ever been to Las Vegas? Do you have any
Uh,
good Vegas stories?
I've been
Any
twice.
any words of wisdom for
I've been
anyone traveling to Las Vegas?
I've been twice. Once as a child, and then the Pro Bowl was in Vegas last year.
Right.
Um, Stadium's super cool. Stadium is awesome. Like if you guys get the chance, I know that's a thing that sometimes you get to see the trucks and everything with Mr. Deneroff. Stadium's awesome. Like it was super cool. Uh, Outside of that, I mean, the fountains are cool at the Bellagio, and we did a podcast. So the High Roller, the Ferris wheel,
Yeah.
I think it's a half-hour rotation. So we did an interview with Jared Goff, Amon-Ra St. Brown, and Frank Ragnow, and our team reporter in one rotation. So we got on, loaded all the gear, had it set up, came back down, picked them all up and filmed an entire like 22-minute interview on the high roller and then loaded all the gear off in like one swoop. It was nuts. I'm still impressed that we pulled it off. Um, but if you get a chance to do the high roller, I think it's pretty sweet. You can't beat the view at the top, so that's what I recommend.
That's awesome. We will see what we can do. I don't know if we're going to be pulling any players to get them on the high roller, but
No,
we'll see if we can make
dude, if you can swindle somebody up there, it would be pretty funny. So
that would be good for the content business. PJ, can't thank you enough. Sorry that unfortunately the Lions are not playing this
yeah,
week.
I
Would have
wish
been
I wish I could see you next week,
yeah.
but
Wish
that's
we
the
could
way
have
the
seen
ball
you out
bounces
there. Wish we could
sometimes.
have seen you out there in Las Vegas, but appreciate you taking some time and stepping out of the sun down in Orlando.
Yeah, I'm not getting sunburned while doing this, so this is good.